Even on the first page, there's something kind of interesting on the DC list of the week. It just shows how clueless DC were sometimes with business decisions. Because if you look to the bottom, Superboy 1 is premiering. It's like the same month that they're like, we're erasing him completely. It's like that's probably the only, I don't know, maybe there was I think there might have been a Filmation Superboy cartoon in the 60s, but other than that, this is the highest Superboy's profile ever was. Right during those years that they were getting rid of him. Self-owned.
What? Cell phone?
Self-own. O-W-N.
Oh.
Yeah, it does sound like
I had no
self-owned.
idea what you're talking about. Cell phone.
No.
No, they didn't have them back then.
No.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm sure that they thought that this show wouldn't take off or whatever. And maybe it didn't even. Like, what was it, 2 or 3 seasons, I suppose. But it's a syndicated show.
It was 4. Really? But you're probably right, because I looked it up, and like this first issue came out right when the second season came out. So they waited to make sure it like survived before they made the...
By the way, Legion of Superheroes number 4, Keith Giffen, Tom and Mary Bierbaum, Al Gordon are the creative force behind this comic book.
The infamous or famous Legion of Superheroes number 4. I think this is a fan favorite of many a 5 year later fan.
It's my favorite one. Probably the first one I read.
Yeah, it's very good. It's got an amazing cover. I mean, I think the cover is part of the reason it's so darn popular. I mean, all of his covers are really great, but there's kind of a sameness to a lot of his covers. And some of that, of course, is because like 3 or 4 of them made like a gatefold, or like they were interconnected. But this one really stands out because it's so basic, and it's got like that bright yellow orange in the background. There's not 1,000 figures on it.
Right. It stands out like he is big. They got Mon-El on the cover, and he takes up the whole thing. Like he's as wide. I mean, his cape is all draped on him, but he looks huge, and his head covers up the logo and stuff.
Yep, and he's very dirty. Lots of wrinkles and splotches on him, and
yeah, the scuzzy stuff that Giffen was really doing on everything.
Right.
There's a really good example of it later in this issue.
Mm-hmm.
The coloring was not prepared for this. I don't think Tom McGraw knows what to do with it exactly when he's coloring it, because he'll just like color along the line, and it looks a little weird, particularly on the cover with the good colors, the good printing.
Do you think he miscolored part of it, or do you think part of the cape there is supposed to be red? Or
no, I don't think that. I just think that like Giffen draws it, and then it's inked as like these. It's like a trail of grime or something, kind of. And I think when you look at it in black and white, those kind of that style of marks makes it look like it just adds a different kind of texture, and a shadow. Whereas once you start to color it, it's hard to figure out what to do with that.
Right.
But in black and white, it's just like it adds a different kind of texture to certain parts of the drawing.
Right. In a way, it almost serves a black and white drawing better. Like a lot of European cartoonists, they'll draw like, or they used to, they draw like very simple figures, but then put lots of like stipple and texture and cracks on everything. It kind of, I don't know, breaks up the space better. Kind of gives them volume.
Yeah, and just to show a bunch of different textures, like I'm looking at my black and white note ash can I just made. And like if you look at like this planet right here, it has these kind of, that grungy stuff. And then it's kind of counterbalanced with solid line. And so you'll have a smooth edge, but then this stipply stuff, this grainy, granular stuff makes it look uneven and messy. But it doesn't lend itself to comic book coloring.
You should have printed the cover.
I should have. It was just for note purposes, I guess.
We could slap it in somewhere.
Yeah, I could still do it, huh?
Or I think I've seen that in black and white on the internet.
Oh.
Maybe just throw that in. This was published on December 12th of 1989. It's got a cover date of February 90. So this was the last Legion issue of the 80s. You already mentioned Keith Giffen, Tom and Mary Bierbaum, Al Gordon all worked together on the story. I don't know. Should we do the what has gone before or no?
Oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, we could. What should we do? Is read it?
Well, what do you want to do?
I don't know. Let me actually see what it says. Nah, we don't need to talk about it.
Okay.
This comic stands on its own pretty well, I think. I don't know. If somebody's watching our videos, they saw the other three.
Mm-hmm. So we start out on Talok 8, which is the home of Shadow Lass, or the former Shadow Lass. She's still in mourning over the loss of her husband, Mon-El, who died towards the end of the last series, so about 5 years previous. She's approached by her cousin, Shadow Kid, who lets her know that he has been named her replacement as the planetary protector.
Oh, yeah, it does say protector here.
Right.
It used to always be the planetary champion, right?
She's completely covered.
Yeah, there's actually two. I don't think I ever really caught this, but I must have. Like, there's two women and they look almost identical. Like, there's 3 different people talking on this page.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to, like, the Mother Superior at the convent or whatever.
It's not really clear, like, do all women cover themselves entirely on this planet? Or is this like a place of mourning where only here do the women completely cover themselves? But
I mean, if we're to think back on past adventures, like, didn't they have this character, Lady Memory, who was, I think, also from Talok 8, but she was green. Like, they have different tribes or something on this planet. And they didn't have this style, this level of whatever world building and culture, whatever specific kind of culture that they showed. But I kind of get the impression that Shadow Lass is kind of, like joined a convent, or like this is some kind of like religious, what would you call it? Like a retreat, a hermit type of lifestyle that she's gone into, just to whatever, to hide from society or something.
Right. That's kind of an old movie trope, right? The sad lady runs off and becomes a nun.
Yeah.
Fräulein Maria. I guess she started out a nun too.
Yeah, she began as a nun. She had to break out of the whatever. Right. Grev, Shadow Kid, thinks she'll be mad that they fired her and hired him instead, but she doesn't care.
We last saw him. He was in the academy, right?
Yeah, he was a longtime Legion Academy member.
Those guys are never going to get out of school. Him and what is that guy's name? Like Power Kid, Power Boy?
Power Boy, yeah. But somewhere along the line, he got killed, and then they brought him back. I don't remember if it was maybe in the 2000s Levitz ones or something.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like he got blown up somewhere, and then he just showed up again, like they forgot they killed him.
That's okay, because nothing past 1994 counts. That's not canon.
But it might have happened prior to that. It could have happened in the Great Darkness Saga or in Magic Wars or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since I read anything with him. I thought, was he like a jerk, or did he have some adversarial relationship with Shadow Lass early on, or no? Like he wanted her job or spot in the Legion?
I kind of feel like that might have been, part of the reason he exists is because he challenged her to become the planetary champion.
Right.
Here they seem pretty cool towards one another.
Right. Now the situation is reversed. He doesn't want to take it from her, but she's not getting stuff done. All right. So we're in space here. Just going to break it down and say exactly what's happening. This would be too complicated to try to maintain the mystery. I assume anyone listening to this has read it. We're seeing everything from Mon-El's point of view, and he's heading towards Talok 8. We have 3 different dialogue balloon colors, and they represent Mon-El himself. The Time Trapper is the dark or the purple one, and the one that's kind of in the middle is Eltro Gand. And they're kind of arguing with one another.
That's a spoiler, though, isn't it? Have they revealed that it's Eltro Gand yet?
Well, like I said, I'm spoiling it because I assume. Should we try to explain it and keep them all a mystery? I thought it might be too complicated to do it that way.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter.
We can do it that way.
I don't think it would be too complicated, but also why bother? It's a 40-year-old comic book. It's Eltro Gand.
Yeah, we have 3 voices arguing with one another within the head of this mysterious figure heading towards some mysterious planet.
Yeah, this kind of, does this pick up from last issue? Like the 3 voices thing?
I don't.
And we kind of know it's Mon-El. Like we know that Mon-El has been reborn or something, right? Like that was on the last page of the previous issue.
Right, like his fist or something burst out of the ground, right?
Yeah, well, it's his gravesite
Yeah,
and
it
it
says
blows up,
Mon-El.
right?
Right.
Yeah. I think it's clear that it's Mon-El and Time Trapper, but then the third guy isn't clear, but like you said, it's Eltro Gand, who we haven't actually seen since 20 years ago in the
Right.
in real lifetime.
Right.
Deep Cut is this Eltro Gand character.
So Mon-El's like a more resolute voice in this, like he's on a mission, to go see his wife and also to defeat the Time Trapper. Meanwhile, Eltro is just kind of a crybaby, very kind of whiny, whimpering guy who's basically begging the Time Trapper, not to take over, I guess. But even Mon-El is sort of Mon-El's coming down on him like, you're pathetic. You can't handle my memories.
Right. Eltro Gand is kind of, I don't totally see the purpose of Eltro Gand except that they had this clever idea and wanted to just stick him in there.
I don't know if this is too early to say, but it seems like part of the purpose was to explain what the fan thought was uncharacteristic behavior from him, like having a temper, I guess, and going nuts every now and then. But I don't know why he can't have those qualities. If you take those out, he's very boring, right? He's just a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Like, you got to give him some personality.
It would also be really easy to explain why Mon-El has weird personalities, because it's traumatic to be in the Phantom Zone for 1,000 years or whatever, and then to get blowed up by the Time Trapper and stuff like he did. It's going to mess you up,
I don't think we need to say there's some weaker personality mixed with him to explain why he freaks out and refuses to go back into the Phantom Zone, after spending 1,000 years there.
But for better or for worse, we got Eltro Gand in the mix with Mon-El and Time Trapper. And so, this whole page is just so that those guys can talk while Mon-El, I guess, is flying through space towards Talak 8. And he goes through space, goes past the moon, goes down through the atmosphere and the clouds.
Right. And also to mention, the Time Trapper says he eliminates his lead vulnerability here. It was like a artificial constraint put upon him.
Oh, okay.
Because presumably he being in his mind wants to use Mon-El as a vessel of some kind, and he doesn't need that limitation anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting that Time Trapper still has so much power when we thought he was totally killed in issue 50 of the previous Legion series a couple of years ago. He's still hanging around, still doing stuff.
And we just looked at that a couple months ago, and I can't remember if there was kind of a last panel that kind of implied some ambiguity, like, is he dead, or was there some...
I can't remember.
Because I kind of remember it like going back to the end of time or something and showing like the wasted landscape. Like maybe there was something that could possibly be interpreted as some vestige of him remains. You know what I mean, right?
I can't remember. Or that's in this issue has that too. So it gets mixed up for me.
Right. So on the next page on the right here, we're back with Shady at her place. You got the mask there in the second panel to sort of communicate that it's the same character, though the coloring doesn't do it any favors. It doesn't really stand out. But
didn't read that was a mask.
It's clearly drawn that way to say this is that character. She's playing some kind of violin-like instrument, and then Mon-El shows up completely naked. I was trying to figure out what this nakedness is about. It's been a long time. Does he just want to get it on real quick before they in the universe? I mean, was he buried naked?
He must have been buried naked. Or maybe when
he's buried on Shanghala, right? Are they all buried naked there? Or maybe it's a Daxamite tradition?
Maybe when his grave exploded, it burned all his clothes off.
Okay. This is a running theme in this issue. We'll get to it later.
What?
Mon-El's nakedness. It comes up
really?
again later.
Oh, I didn't notice. The thing I noticed on this page was the wordless panel in the dead center that shows her severed finger. Like you're not,
Oh,
unless you're really paying attention and remember the last sequence with Shadowlass from issue 53 or whatever
uh-huh.
of the Baxter series, Legion of Superheroes, you would not remember that she cut off her pinky finger as a wedding ceremony thing with Monel. But that's what this panel is. It's emphasizing that she's playing her violin, but she's missing that pinky finger.
I'm really confused about how it's laid out here though, because if it is like a violin, like in panel 3, she's holding she's holding it with her left hand, right?
No,
The,
it's the same hand.
okay, is this her right or left hand in the middle?
It's her left hand.
Okay, that's her left hand.
Yeah, the one with the ring on it is her pinky finger, and it's curled around
Okay.
the neck of the instrument.
Right. Yeah.
And her thumb would be on the other side of that neck, out of view.
Right. It's a really good detail for them to point out. I admit I missed it too, because when I'm just scanning past it, I just read that as a thumb on a right hand.
Oh,
But
yeah.
now I can't unsee it now. But yeah, that's good that he left that in there. Of course, that was his doing, right?
And it's some of that center panel Frank Santoro shit, I guess, where
That's 12
I've always
panels,
been
right?
kind of dismissive about that,
Oh,
but like they emphasize it by putting it right in the middle,
right.
and it's not crowded out by any dialogue or
Right.
text or
Do
anything.
you have a compass? Let's start drawing circles on here and put like 47 circles and it'll
Yeah, see,
converge.
like you go this way,
Mm-hmm.
and then this away,
Right.
and then this way goes through right here.
Right.
Whatever.
But it does work well on 2 levels, because it's pointing that out, like you said, the missing finger, but it's also kind of like the music. She's playing the music and it's being played through all the panels, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's ready.
And we'll note that this word balloon that says "I'm really back" is lettered by somebody else. This was a post deadline change.
Really? How do you know that?
Because a different letterer. I can tell by looking it's a different letterer.
You are crazy. Can you really? You can
Oh, yeah,
really
for
tell?
sure. Yeah. Like the letter forms of the capital B
Uh-huh.
is a little squished, and the A is a little squished, and the letters in back are all touching each other.
See, whenever you start talking like this, I get really self-conscious about my own lettering. Like the next time I'm drawing, I'm going to be thinking, somebody looks that closely at letters.
I just catch it. I don't know. There's some other stuff in this issue too where somebody else has done some caption boxes, and it just sticks out like a sore thumb to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You don't catch it, I guess. Maybe this one's different. I don't know. Maybe this one is Todd Klein and I'm wrong. I don't know.
What about page 5? That has comparable lettering, like in the lower right hand. I pointed that one out because when I went to the first couple pages, like it's written different. It's written more. The letters are smaller and softer, like they're, I don't know, a woman's voice or something.
Where's that?
Oh, and the lettering seems very different on the first page. Like it's much smaller and like that. The lettering on page 1 looks nothing like this balloon on page 3 that you pointed out. The lettering on page 5 doesn't look that different to me.
But I think it all has to do with like revisions being done on the fly
Right.
with this issue.
All the lettering's a little weird on these pages because there's so much dialogue, I guess. It all looks kind of squashed. Like you may had to draw them a little bit short. The letter form's a little shorter to fit all the dialogue in or something.
Yeah, there's a few places where you can see that they kind of, I don't know, maybe they redrew the balloon to be smaller, and then like the lettering doesn't fit in it quite right.
Right.
This issue maybe isn't the best example of that, but it's in other ones I've noticed.
Well, I don't even know anymore. Were they just pasting the dialogue down at this point?
I don't know. Seems like it depends on the letterer.
Right.
Know? I guess let's flip the page and keep going.
Yeah.
A lot of text on this next page. This is more time trapper stuff. More in the head of Mon-El.
Well, right. This is taking it to the next level, like because now we have four 4 voices and 2 conversations.
Right.
So
This is actually from the it's from like this page is like Mon-El's eyesight.
right.
And this page is the time trapper's eyesight. He has a blurry observation of what Mon-El is seeing and doing.
Oh.
And I think like they're these kind of glowing kind of globules.
Uh-huh.
I think one of them maybe represents Time Trapper and the other one represents Eltrogand, and they're talking while they observe
Right.
the stuff that Mon-El and Shadowlass are doing out in real life.
Oh yeah.
Out in the
Makes sense.
physical world.
On the outside world, Mon-El's giving Shady the 411 on what's going on. About he needs to extract the time trapper from himself or possibly kill himself in order to keep him from taking over the universe, I guess. He seems to be kind of like trying to calm her down. Like, we don't have time to get it on right now. I'm going to save the universe. We'll have time for that later. Then we have commentary from the time trapper, who's like completely disgusted by all of this, which further kind of suggests that they're making out to some extent. He's very grossed out by it.
Oh yeah, he says, what's he say? When I'm in charge, I won't allow like the touch of human flesh.
It's funny because Giffen, especially since he's come back, maybe starting with like Legionnaires 3 and definitely by issue 50 of the last series, he's really turned this character into a very scary, like kind of omnipotent villain. But here on this page, he kind of sounds like Skeletor again. Like he's a little silly, a little campy.
I mean, even when, like, by that logic, like, even when they're battling him and killing him back in issue 50,
right?
He still is, like, kind of like this mustache twirling kind of villain, you know?
Right.
Like, he still sounds like that. He still sounds like Cobra Commander or something.
Right.
Even though he's a very powerful force and can do whatever he wants. Like just the fact, like on that other page where he's like, I've decided that Mon-El doesn't need to be killed by lead anymore.
Right.
So to benefit myself, so he can, do whatever he wants. I guess that's a good villain, but it also sounds like one of those villains that the 8-year-olds back in 1963 suggest to Mort as a good villain. It's like, how about a villain who can change anything to whatever he wants? And like, oh, a good one.
Right. The time trapper who's like bearing his non-face in his hands when he's being driven crazy by all the baby Legionnaires. You remember that? But yeah, here he's like, the first thing I do once I gain absolute control of time and space is no more hanky-panky.
No touching. I don't think they're fooling around on this page. I think they're just talking. And then they must embrace one time, right? Because they don't have time to like fuck.
I'm not saying they're going all the way, but I think she's on him and kissing him and holding him and embracing him, and there's lots of movement going on because he says where does he say it? Like we don't have time to get reacquainted right now. Like it's sort of like he's pushing her back a little. You don't see that?
I do. I'm just imagining what she might be doing, and he's like, "Hold it, we don't have time."
Right.
And she's like,
you don't show up after 5 years naked and not want to do anything.
Right. I mean, yeah, Giffen doesn't show us what he has below the belt. Maybe if we knew, we'd know like what Shadowlass is up against and what she has to resist.
Right.
But then at the end, he's like, "Let's go, Shady."
It's like, we're gonna go see the nerd, don't we?
Oh.
And inside the time trapper Eltro conversation, we get a little bit more of a rationalization for his being there. Like his personality being merged in is kind of a wedge that kind of weakens Mon-El's mental fortitude. He was worried that his weapon was becoming strong enough to resist him.
I guess in a way, then that's a way to explain why Eltro is there. Is that Time Trapper put him there, right? Like all of that is a machination by the Time Trapper to make Mon-El weaker. Like he's got to have Mon-El there available in case Time Trapper needs a backdoor exit.
Well, this in a way is taking some of the stuff Levitt's laid out and expanding it because like everyone, not just Superboy, is like a puppet in a sense. Like everyone in this universe and everything that's happened to the Legion has been some manipulation of his. So that event with Eltro and everything else they've ever done has somehow been shaped and directed by him.
I don't understand then why the Time Trapper isn't omnipotent. How come he didn't control everything to make it so that they never decided to come and kill him back in issue 50, et cetera, et cetera? Why, if he can control everybody,
right?
And if anybody looks like a threat, he can do something and put a fucking wedge in their brain and make them weaker. How come he doesn't do that? How come he only does that with Mon-El? And I guess the answer to that question is because only Superboy and Mon-El are things that are entirely created out of whole cloth by him because they're from the Pocket Universe.
Right. And that's another... I don't think they've ever explicitly said that Mon-El was, in fact, created the same way Superboy was. But this issue in particular does seem to suggest that.
Oh yeah, it totally has to be that way for this issue to work, right?
Right. I think one of the another possible explanation is that he rerouted Mon-El from the regular universe to, the fake Smallville.
Yeah, this way or this issue shows that he didn't really need to do that. He made these two super vulnerable guys in the Pocket Universe that we found out about back in issue 38 and 37 of the Baxter series. And
well, right, but if that's the case, once he was destroyed, why does Valor exist?
Well, because he's there, he exists. Why would he disintegrate if Time Trapper got killed?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
Sure. That's as good an explanation as any.
It makes me wonder what the necessity of killing Superboy was. I mean, he's got Superboy and Mon-El, two invulnerable vessels, right? And right. I forget at this moment who even is responsible for killing Superboy. Was it the Time Trapper? He was involved somehow.
Yeah, they were fighting the Time Trapper, and there was some sort of electrical conduit that was like all the forces of the universe were going through, and he had to like hold the two sides together because it was broken and all that power went through him and killed him. But it wasn't that Time Trapper deliberately killed him, I guess.
Right. He died trying. He died in the process of defeating the Time Trapper in that adventure.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, so Time Trapper, I guess, did not expect Superboy to be killed. Even though he knows everything and sees all time and space.
Right.
But yeah, this issue makes it clear that all that stuff that happened to Superboy in the Pocket Universe from issue 37 and 38 and Superman, all that stuff was made by the Time Trapper. Even if there's other planets, that stuff is all made by the Time Trapper, I guess.
Well, there's another,
and I guess it's all been destroyed by this point, right?
Well, we'll have to see.
Yeah, in subsequent pages. Huh?
Right. So anyway, so then we're on Kulu, home of Will Docs. Kolu.
If you switch the vowels around, it's culo, which means ass in Spanish.
Did you just make that up?
No, that's true. Culo.
How do you know that?
Because I took Spanish 1 in high school. We learned all the swear words.
They taught you ass. Oh. You weren't using that on the curb when ladies were walking by.
Uh-huh.
That's not where you picked it up. Right. That's where I picked up a lot of Spanish slang. Like at the bus stop or something.
Oh, well, yeah. Working at a restaurant, I learned like a lot of that stuff. And the food words and the silverware and stuff.
Mota, of course.
I don't know what that is.
Mota?
Like that's marijuana, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Kolu?
Kolu.
Kulo. I feel like a lot of the, like 90% of the future names are like regular names, but they just yank a vowel out.
Like what's this one?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know what that one is. I don't know what that particular one is, but they always feel like they're bastardizations of real words. but they've taken like an essential vowel or possibly consonant out, so it doesn't quite flow right.
Yeah, that's their method, I guess, for nomenclature.
Right. Maybe Weisinger
And
had some grand master plan, and they're all like scrambled versions of girls he dated or something, and we'll never know. So we see Brainiac 5 looking very much like, what's his name? Harry Dean Anderson from
Richard Dean Anderson. Yeah.
Richard Dean Anderson from MacGyver. Got the mullet, rocking the mullet. He has been, I think, did we see him doing this the last time he showed up? He showed up a little bit on issue 1. Was he?
I think in issue 2 they reveal that he's investigating this
Right.
what's it called, One-Athococcus validus.
The validus plague that afflicts
Mm.
Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl's kid. One thing I noticed this time around, I see some of the traits that he's kind of well known for in later comics starting to show up here, but he still seems to kind of care about the other characters here. He's a little annoyed by them, but he seems more compassionate than later depictions of him.
Oh yeah, he seems still nice. He seems like a totally like this is what the adult version of Brainiac 5 is based on the 60s or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And he's kind of chilled out, like he went through some weird shit as a in his 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's I mean he's kind of a Vulcan. They
Right.
kind of do that, and he gets some kind of deadpan stuff like on the next page with him
Yeah.
in it.
Get some good lines in there.
Right.
But he's not like completely annoyed that they've shown up. I mean, you get a sense that he actually likes his former teammates.
Yeah, he seems like he's a curious person instead of a person easily annoyed.
Right.
They've got a handle on him here.
Mm-hmm.
He goes way off the rails as time goes on. The characterization of Brainiac 5 to the point where you can't stand him. You want him to die.
Well,
But here he's okay.
though, as we mentioned before, I think he is like the most popular character nowadays. So I guess people just like bastards.
I think that high popularity isn't based on current characterization.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe people still think that he is just a smart green guy, and he has a look.
Like I don't know the new comics super well, but like the way I read him in the issues of the later Levitt stuff that I've read, it feels like he was watching a lot of Sherlock. That show with Benedict Cumberbatch, but he's always kind of like shitty to everybody around him, but knows everything.
Yeah.
Here he's still just a super smart scientist. He's not like a magically smart scientist. Also, like he can't just solve anything in 2 seconds. He still has to do research and stuff.
I like the I mean, first of all, I like this kind of domed laboratory thing he's in that's all shiny and orange.
Mm-hmm.
Like amidst this kind of rocky desert kind of area.
Right.
But then I also like Giffen's drawings of the like microscope imagery.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. In the second panel, is that one of those worm fellas? Those, do you remember those? They're
like
villains.
Gil Dishpan.
Uh-huh.
No, those guys are always in a globe and they look a little bit different.
Okay, right.
But yeah, Shadowless and Monella showed up, and he's like, just like Mr. Spock, he's like, fascinating,
right?
Whatever. And this next page is it's like a gag page, kind of, right? Where
tell him it's the Time Trapper.
Yeah, kind of like they're like, no, it's us. No, tell him we're here about the Time Trapper, and the probe droid is like, just wait a second, he's busy.
Right.
I don't know, like in other comics, like Mon-El would like fire some heat vision and just barge right in someplace. On this page, they're patient because
Eltro's gone.
Well, yeah, I guess it adds to the effect of it being kind of silly.
It couldn't have been something simple. Before he's even come to see what's up, he's kind of spying on him, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Assessing the situation ahead of time.
Oh, on this page, Mon-El is all sweaty too, like he's having some physical problems keeping it together.
Maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, but when the Time Trapper's talking about getting rid of the lead vulnerability because he basically wants to use Mon-El as his new body. He mentions that he's been keeping him alive all this time. I think maybe that explains why they couldn't cure him at the end, or why he wouldn't die, at least not until, the next to last issue. Like, he was injured badly enough that he should have died, but the time trapper was not allowing his body to die. I mean, that doesn't explain the flat line, but apparently he wasn't even dead then. He just had a slowed heartbeat, I guess.
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
Right.
Like he can still be dead, and I don't know. The time trapper can have him be dead and also alive at the same time.
Right. Dead kind of in the same way that he's dead in the Ultra Gand issue, where apparently he wasn't actually dead at all. He was just in suspended animation of some kind.
Oh, when he gets lead poisoning or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess I should have saved that for the next page. It actually explains it.
Oh, does it explain it on this flashback page here?
Right. So we get an explanation that goes back to Action Comics. What was it? 380 something?
384.
384. Where he was supposedly destined to die, according to Dream Girl, and Eltro, his ancestor, replaces him, try to die in his place, but actually causes him to die in the process because he leaves him somewhere without his antidote where there's lead. And this gets to that second naked thing I was mentioning, like on panel 5 here. He's naked.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
And it makes sense. Like, maybe it's a revision that just makes more sense than the way we read it, because he took his uniform, you would suppose. Except when you come down to the last, to panel 7, they clearly both have uniforms.
Right.
So I don't know why he's naked. Maybe he just wanted to check him out while he's unconscious.
Yeah, that's weird, huh? Because in the original comic, he is clothed.
Right.
He's never naked in the 1969
Not
comic
that we
book.
see.
Yeah, what a goof. What a crazy mix-up. But yeah, this is more of the interior of Mon-El's head. Time Trapper's replaying this memory,
right,
of flashback to issue 384,
right,
for the benefit of Eltro Gand to torture him, I guess, and also to update us readers on this comic that we haven't looked at in 20 years.
You've got that kind of sepia, the aged look for the flashbacks with the browner colors.
Yeah, and I think this is my favorite panel in the comic, panel 6 of page. Really? Page I don't know what number it is. It doesn't have a number on it. This extreme close up of Eltro Gand crying when he's discovered that he's responsible for making the prophecy come true and killing Mon-El. He's bummed.
Yeah, but
it's a good, I don't know, weird upshot with deep shadows, and he's crying.
He should have known better. I guess they didn't get like reruns of the Twilight Zone on Daxam. That kind of shit always backfires.
Yeah. Dream Girl's prophecies always come true.
Right.
And on this page, Eltro Gand has taken to calling Time Trapper father all the way through. Like he accepts that the Time Trapper is his creator. It's kind of weird. Like Mon-El, he resists that. He won't do that.
You're not my dad.
Eltro Gand, he's such a puss, I guess.
Right. He's just sucking up to him, hoping maybe he'll be spared.
But at the end of the page, I think Time Trapper is saying, "I'm not going to spare you."
Right. You've served your purpose.
You've become a superfluous distraction.
Right. But it also, like up until this issue, there weren't like two of them in his head. They were sort of amalgamated together. He wasn't like in Mon-El's place all these years. Or they weren't like fighting for control. Their personalities had been merged together. They had been a single person. And something about the resurrection divided them back up.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right. Which, I mean, that kind of softens the blow on the Lightning Lad thing, because he sort of has qualities of Lightning Lad plus Prody. It isn't. I don't think it's just a 1-for-1 replacement.
Right. Yeah, it does seem like more of a merger of blurring the lines between these two characters.
Right. In Lightning Lad's case, it almost have to, for like say all of his intense battles with Lightning Lord to make sense. Like, because Lightning Lord doesn't mean shit to Prody.
Yeah. Like, why would he still have these feelings?
Right.
These conflicted feelings about Lightning Lord. If he was a different guy, he wouldn't give a shit, right?
Right.
I don't know. Do the people watching this video know that the same machine that swapped Ultragan for Element Lad is the same machine that we eventually learn? We talk about this all the time, and I think it's even, is it still like up for debate whether Prody became Lightning Lad when Lightning Lad died and was resurrected, or is it explicit in the comic? I feel like it's in an annual or something, and they still don't say that that's what happened, but it's very heavily implied, pretty clear that like that's what they're telling us happened.
I do feel like it's been said a few times post reboot, though. He's definitely not Prody. Like in the newer iterations. Like, some people were really mad about that. And maybe that's even why some of the people wanted to restart. Like, you ruined everything.
It's such a great idea. It is
a great idea. It's a really great idea.
Why would you be mad about a good idea? Right. A good storytelling development? Where does that idea come from?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you so you can start explaining it.
So the entire concept of the personality swap, it was actually a fan theory that had been published in the Legion Outpost fanzine. I don't know exactly when, the 70s, right? It'd have to be the 70s. Early 70s. I
guess so. I feel like you were telling me about it. I don't really know.
Oh, I thought you were going to read it.
I forgot to read it.
I thought you were going to be the one to explain it, because I didn't think I was going to have this book in time.
I feel like I did the research, but I didn't look at that. Where else did I read about this? All I got around to reading was the Keith Giffen interview in Legion Companion. Does he talk about it in that? But yeah, some fan just had the idea that the device that,
what's it called again?
I don't know if they even gave it a name.
No, it's
some kind of gizmo from Daxam that can restore the life of a dead person, but only by killing another person who's alive.
Right, a very strange innovation.
It's like a devil's bargain type of thing.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, you want your dude you like to come back to life? We can do that, but it'll cost you somebody else.
Right.
And so in the case of Lightning Lad, they got this, and Saturn Girl was going to do it. But then Prody, he's in love with Saturn Girl, and he takes her place. Saturn Girl, Prody supposedly dies to bring back to life Lightning Lad. And then it's the same gizmo that kills Eltrogans to restore Mon-El. But the idea is that it doesn't actually kill that person. It puts their brain into the other body.
And that's where that idea first came up, was in this fan theory. And though the fan theory was mainly about Mon-El and Eltro's trade, the fan elaborates later that this would mean the same must have also happened to Lightning Lad and Prody.
Yeah.
Which we will see in later issues if we get
right. Yeah, that look, every time we read one of these New Legion superhero comics, we joke around about Prody and Lightning Lad as if everybody knows about that. I don't know if everybody does know about that. And especially if they do know about it and it makes them mad, I just want them to know that Dan and I embrace that. We love that idea.
Right.
That it's Prody and it's not fucking Garth Rand's that jock shithead.
It is, I think it's Margie Spears is the name of the fan who came up with that idea. And I think she also kind of, in the process of explaining the Prody Lightning Lad swap, she suggests that Prody and his race must be intelligent. They're not just pets. They're sentient, and that becomes a bigger thing in this series, as we see they start expecting to be treated like autonomous individuals, not pets.
That was actually in an earlier one. Remember that Legion of Superheroes number 300 where Prody is taking the photograph of them on the cover? That's
Right.
that
He
jam
has
cover.
like some sort of activist flag or something.
Right. In the following issue, he has this conversation with Saturn Girl, and he's like, "I have a job now. I'm nobody's pet.
Right.
I don't have time for your stupid Legionnaire stuff," or something like that. Because he can talk to a Saturn Girl because they have telepathy. And I don't know if
Right.
he can actually speak or what. I don't know. But yeah, that was a point that happened in way back in issue 301,
Mm-hmm.
which was whenever that was, 1983 or 4 or something. So 5 or 6 years prior to this comic book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not totally new idea. I don't know if Giffen and Levitz, when they did that one, were thinking about what Margie dreamed up in that Interlac or Legion Outpost letter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Could be. I think they had their finger on the pulse to a degree.
Right. They'd both been interviewed by that publication. I think they were aware of it.
But that's what happened to Mon-El and Eltro. Same dude. And now they're both in there.
For more information, please refer to our episode detailing Action Comics 384. 384.
384. But dun dun dun, the cliffhanger of this page is that I think Time Trapper's going to kill Eltro Gand, or kill him. I don't know what you could do with a guy who's just like
It's like he's being deleted.
Yeah, he's just a little wiggly line inside
Right.
of Mon-El's brain.
Right.
And a weak one at that.
So we see Shadow Last kind of arguing with Brainiac 5 about, do something. And he's, he talks back a lot like he does later, but it just seems like he's not being as big a dick about it.
Yeah, he's much more patient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy who's just trying
Right.
to get his work done and be smart. And
Right.
he explains that there's limitations to what he can do.
Right. But they will keep trying. Maybe some later depictions would either instantly solve the problem or, cuss her out and tell her to get lost.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, he has good bedside manner here
Mm-hmm.
that they forget about later on.
So they have some sort of EEG, like it's I guess they're brainwaves, and he's noticed
they're electrical impulses.
There's 2 of them and a third very faint one, probably Eltro's weak brain fading away.
He says it's an almost undetectable pattern, but
right,
it seems still pretty prominent on the graph that he's pulled
right.
up here. It's like it's about half as thick as these other 2. No, yeah. I wouldn't say undetectable. He seems like he's detected it pretty solidly.
I had misremembered this scene as showing that it flatline or disappear entirely, but I guess it doesn't.
Oh, no. I think it's kind of cool. He has Mon-El like laying down on an examination table, but Mon-El is like hovering above it, and there's this like dark shadow beneath him.
Oh,
and I'm not. It's like I don't know. It's some kind of weird spacey Dracula type of thing or something where he's just like floating prone above this bed.
I never ever noticed that.
Yeah, like you can even see his hand is like stuck out flat, Right. It's like he's flying or whatever, whatever Superman and Mon-El do to defy gravity. They're just, just like he's doing a plank, I guess.
This is the 30th century. It might just do that to anybody.
That could be. He's laying
I like your version better. But it would make sense if you had the ability to levitate someone that you were potentially going to operate on. It would probably be beneficial.
Right, you could get underneath
rotate
them. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I thought it was because he was flying.
Yeah, I mean that sounds much better. That sounds cooler. And then they maybe they'd have to like weigh him down, put some bricks on him or something, so he doesn't keep
He
floating
doesn't keep
off while
floating
they're
away.
working on him.
But this page, not a lot of drawing. Keith didn't have to do a lot of drawing on this page because the panel 1 and 2 and panel 8 and 9, same panel. And then panel 5 and 6, same panel. So he really only drew about 3 panels for this page. Pretty good, pretty efficient. Or lazy. Maybe he's lazy. They say they had to scrap a bunch of pages from this issue because this is the one where this was the issue where the shit hit the fan and the Legion team was told no more Superboy. Can't have Superboy. Can't talk about him. Can't refer to him. Can't do any Superboy stuff. So they done some shit on this issue and they had to redo it, I guess. So Giffen, I'm sure, is looking to cut quarters.
They'd already been told to write him out, to kill him. They couldn't use him anymore. But they're taking it to the next level, and now they can't even mention him past tense or anything, any reference to him, which is nearly impossible to do with the Legion since they all first appeared in Superboy.
Right.
So even like Mon-El, and I think in that Teenagers from the Future book, they say that might have had, well, they state it as fact. I don't know if it is a fact that was why Mon-El kind of disappeared right after issue 50 as well. Like they kind of had to write him out too, even back then.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know if that's totally accurate because just from looking at those issues a couple of days ago, the quest to cure Mon-El, that subplot that Shadowlass and Mon-El are going around, they get a few issues or a few pages in every issue for about 3 issues in like 51, 52, and 53. And after that, they're forgotten about until, I don't know, 6 months or something near the end of the series. It goes until 63. And then I think the part where that we both remember where his heart rate monitor flatlines or whatever because the electricity goes out. That's in the Magic Wars in issue 60 something, right?
Right. Might have even been the last or the second to the last.
Yeah. So somewhere between 53 and 63, you didn't really see him at all for the most part. So it kind of holds water, but also like it seemed like they had this plot line going and then in kind of like typical Legion fashion, it didn't amount to much.
I think the way they were describing it, it was like they were trying to get him out of circulation just temporarily. Like they're figuring this will blow over. Like maybe in a couple years, the editorial will loosen up and let them use these characters again. But they need to like kind of move them to the background a little bit for a while.
I mean, it's still kind of mind-boggling that like they did all that shit. They did a crossover of the Superman comic book. They had a big anniversary issue or whatever with a Bill Sienkiewicz cover in the Legion of Superheroes comic to get rid of Superboy. Problem solved. You know, we figured it out. Me and Paul Levitz and John Byrne, they put their heads together. They solved this thing, you know, with a cool, debatably cool story that wrapped everything up, made it all work, had a good crossover, sold a few extra issues of Legion of Superheroes to the people buying Superman that month.
Right.
But then here it is, 3 years later, and they're like, that wasn't good enough.
Right. You wonder who's calling the shots on that too, because Levitz loves Superboy. So I don't think he would have killed him off unless they just told him you have to.
I don't know. I mean, he did it. You know what I mean? It's like, and he's the boss. So he must have thought it was okay. Must have thought it worked out well enough.
Right.
But yeah, by this point in issue number 4, the John Byrne is gone, Paul Levitz is gone, and I guess Levitz is just taking a real laissez-faire approach to whatever is going on in the Legion of Superheroes comic book, because this is happening, and he's whatever. I guess he's just like, nah, I'm not an editorial anymore. I'm not going to do anything. I'll let those guys settle and float the dust clear where it may.
That's a charitable interpretation.
Well, I'm a diplomatic type of guy.
We'll never know entirely what Levitz had to do with or not to do with in terms of the complete erasure of any reference to Superboy. Yeah. But I think at the very least he didn't stop it from happening.
Yep. Oh, there is an appearance of Superboy in this comic book. Maybe the last time Superboy shows up in a Legion comic. Oh, we didn't get to it yet.
Until they decide he's in the Legion again. Kind of.
No. Yeah, I'll point it out when we get to it. The final appearance of Superboy in a Legion comic.
The final appearance of Superboy as a major member of the team, not someone who was, they met briefly.
Right.
Died. What page are we on?
This comic is weird. Like, there's page number. It must be because of the production shenanigans. Like, there's page numbers up to like page 6, and then there's no more page numbers until like page 16 or something, or page 10.
Yeah, I don't know.
But also, like, reading this comic, I feel like there's pages that may or may not be out of order, and I don't know if like that's why there's page numbers, because somebody's like, they're gonna fuck this up, so we better start numbering these.
Right.
And it's like Keith Giffen and Tom and Mary are like, we can't even keep it straight. We better start numbering these pages.
They maybe all the way through do have like this kind of modular quality in that we don't really change scenes within a page.
Right.
So you could take the sections and move them around, the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's only, there's 3 locations in this comic book. We haven't got to some of them, but there's like the first 2 pages are on Talic 8. There's Brainiac 5's lab, and then there's the place where Mon-El and Time Trapper meet up.
Right.
And there's also the shit that's inside of Mon-El's head, I guess, but that's kind of different. But yeah, you can, as you read this issue, you can start to see like, oh, maybe I could read all the Brainiac 5 lab stuff in one chunk and then the other stuff. And then they just kind of shuffle the pages for, I don't know what, for a little bit of dramatic contrast or something.
Did you ever read a comic like that? I have. Especially when I was younger, I'd skip over shit I didn't care about. I'd probably come back and read it later, but like
Well, I mean, I just the other day read the Shadow Last Mon-El sequences from about 4 different issues of the Baxter Legion, I guess.
Right.
I don't typically read them. I just will read them. Like, when it's 24 pages, it's not that hard to read all the way through.
But sometimes it's hard to resist. It's not like a TV show where you have to sit through it. You can just keep flipping and find out if the guy died or not.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sometimes. I guess I control myself.
You're a disciplined comic reader.
Yeah. This page is confusing to me.
It is.
The next page, it shows the man, Time Trapper, in a place. Up until now, he's just been a voice in Mon-El's head.
Right.
And now he's in a physical place. We see the purple robe.
The way he starts his little monologue would imply that he is at the end of time.
Yeah.
The place where they fought him in issue 50. But that becomes a little unclear as we go. Because somewhere along the line, he kind of implies that they may be on Pocket Earth, or what's left of it.
Yeah, does he imply that on this page?
It may be. I don't remember exactly where he says it.
But yeah, he's again here just explaining kind of what his plans was and how he created Superboy to make sure that Mordru didn't become the predominant whatever evil force in the universe, so that he could have it instead.
He's not content with just having the remains of the universe at the end of time. He wants all of it, like when it's in its prime, when people are still alive, not just the ashes and rubble. But that means he's got to take out Mordru and magic.
And as he's explaining this, in the 5th panel here, there's this like magical blob that pops out of the ground, flies to his hand. And then 2 panels later, well, actually in this panel, it looks like there's this smoking thing. Is that the thing that he had in his hand a second ago? In the 7th panel? Is
I
that
don't
like a
know.
miscolored version of this thing?
I hope so. I thought you were about to say it was a sperm.
It almost is. Giffen
Right.
draws these sperms all the time.
Right.
But he is pregnant in this next to last
Right.
panel.
Right.
And actually, remember I pointed this out? This is the classic Giffen pregnancy reveal
Mm-hmm.
drawing. Like they
Mm-hmm.
showed in issue 1, they showed Lyda Jaith like that, Night Girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then in issue 3, they show
Saturn
Girl. And it's still the same pose where it's like you have a fat belly and your hand is draped across it.
Right.
I was thinking that this must be Eltrogand in some capacity, and he kills him. And this is like the over here on this the last time we show Time Trapper, he says away with you, and you're kind of don't see Eltrogand anymore. I feel like maybe this is him killing Eltrogand and destroying him.
I don't know.
But then he's also pregnant, and I don't get what he's pregnant with or who he's pregnant with. He doesn't give birth to another Mon-El or Superboy.
Well, right, but I think he's explaining the process of doing that. Like he's explaining what he did past tense.
Oh, is this a flashback to him creating Mon-El?
Creating Pocket Earth, I think.
Oh, that changes things. That changes my understanding of this page.
Oh, okay.
But I have to read it again. I have to read it a bunch of times.
Right.
Because to me, it seemed like the stuff in the narration boxes
mm-hmm.
and the stuff in the images weren't the same story. You know?
Right. Right.
Like it's some Chris Ware shit or something, which is giving Keith Giffen and Tom and Mary a lot of credit. But I still don't quite know what is happening.
Yeah, I mean, even still, I'm not sure any of this is happening physically. It's like he's explaining what happened, and these are like visual metaphors of what he did. I don't know that he literally made himself pregnant and an earth shot out between his legs.
Well, but they don't ever tell a story in this metaphorical or in a metaphorical kind of way that you're talking about, really, do they? Where like, I created the universe, and they show a pregnant person, you know. That
I feel like they do. I mean, I don't know if I can specifically point out a Legion comic, but I think a lot of times when there are godlike characters, Beyonder type characters in comics, they will start, or if it's like a shapeshifter, for example, and he's telling a story of people he met in the past, he will turn into those guys. So I think he's taking the idea was he stole like a millisecond from the regular universe. He stole a sliver of it. He cut it just a tiny piece out that I guess no one's going to notice, and then he grew it into an entire second universe. And I think maybe that's what's happening here, but it's like shown visually. Like everything in his realm is sort of metaphorical because it's all like just this wasteland. Where is this wasteland? Is it on a planet? Is it just?
Yeah,
does that
it's always
represent
it's the end of time.
Right.
So it's like if we understand the end of time is like the big suck or whatever,
mm-hmm.
where it's like it goes back to infinite density and infinite gravity.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on the all matter of the universe condensed to the head of a pin or whatever.
Oh.
And he's just there, and it's all garbage and it's all waste, but it's also everything in an area that's smaller than anything we can comprehend. You know.
Well, that works fine for him, but what happens when the Legionnaires come there to kill him?
I don't know.
Why aren't they getting smashed?
They should not be able to survive if that's where they are. But Mon-El, I guess, can survive. But yeah, I still am not totally sure about what's happening on this page and what's supposed to be happening on this page. And I don't think it's because I'm not bright enough to understand it. I think it's because they didn't know what they were trying to do, and they don't put it over.
They don't explain it well enough to have known what I just said, but I know that is the idea. Maybe not specifically for this page, but that I didn't make up that. I read that somewhere. The idea of him taking a sliver of time to. Maybe that was even in the Superboy story.
Yeah, I think that's probably that sounds familiar.
the burn thing.
But and then you think it like this page, the glowing thing that he takes is that little bit of time, and he impregnates
Right.
himself with it.
Right, because we're clearly, whatever this is, if this is like his memories, or maybe this is just his thoughts taken being acted out, because this is all occurring in his mind, right?
It seems like it. Like at the in the
It
last
almost
panel,
seems like they're watching.
oh, it almost seems like Brainiac 5 is watching it on TV.
Yeah, because in the last panel, he's like, wait, somebody's on to me or something, or somebody's watching. And then it goes blank on the very next panel, and you see them staring. They've been staring at that screen. And I know that's not probably literally what's happening, but that's how it seems to read.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's literally supposed to be happening is that Brainiac 5 is trying to isolate all three of those things.
Right.
Time Trapper's killed Eltrogan, so he's not there anymore. And then Brainiac
Right.
5 is trying to split the two, and they start these caption boxes that like that they look like they look like the receipt that went through the washing machine in your pocket or whatever.
Right.
And then it fuzzes out. So Brainiac 5 isn't seeing anything on his computer. He used to be seeing two wiggly lines, and now he sees nothing.
Jamming the transmission or something.
But this last panel on this page, it goes back to the weird Time Trapper point of view from over here, right? It's back to this motif again.
Right.
And so this is Time Trapper's point of view through Mon-El's eyes, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this must all be Time Trapper's flight of fancy.
It's like his inner monologue. I mean, unless we think he literally enlarged his stomach to create.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not done in the way that other flashbacks are done, or other like there's not rounded edges on the panel borders. There's not like a dark background behind the panels or something like that. So it's confusing about where we are.
Right.
But he might have become pregnant. Like this might be how he creates his Superboys or whatever.
Right.
And I think there might also be some coloring errors. I think these rocky things in the second panel and in the seventh panel, I'm not sure that those are supposed to be rocks. Might be something else. I don't know. Especially in the seventh panel, you can see there's this little kind of wiggly thing that looks like a phone cord or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing it in my black and white version here.
Right.
And it's like this. It looks like almost like a head, maybe, or I don't know what that could be. But it doesn't seem like it's just a rock, like these other rocks that are decaying here.
Right.
Don't know. Weird page. Pretty weird.
We'll have to ask Keith.
He doesn't remember that old fart.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool effect though on the next page where the computer blacks out and they're like, "What's going on? The computer turned off." And they turn around and Mon-El has just disappeared altogether. It's like Twin Peaks type of shit. And I wonder, is it that same drawing? It's almost the same drawing from the previous page, just with the exception of Mon-El.
Oh, right.
Like he photocopied it. Oh, again, he reused the same drawing.
They should have like Brainiac 5 looking up just to make sure he didn't float to the ceiling.
But he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Mon-El's gone. Brainiac 5 postulates that the Time Trapper plucked him away.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get attacked by Brainiac 5's secretary, who's all decayed and gross now.
Again with maniacal. The probes. Again with the probes. Wasn't Mordru using some of them last time?
Yeah. I think I would not want to get one of these guys now. If I was a Legionnaire, I would be like, mental note, don't buy any more of these guys. They're not, they need a firewall in them.
You can't just hit accept on the agreement.
Right. You can't accept all cookies. You have to go and reject a few of them.
If you look in the fine print way down there, it says omnipotent supervillains may be able to use this to.
Right. We sell your information to the supervillains. It looks real cool. This is more of that stuff like we were talking about on the cover, where he's
Mhm.
drawn this kind of cruddy stuff as a contrast to the slick, smooth stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in black and white,
I bet it looks way better.
it looks pretty cool.
Yep.
Look how grody she looks. And in color, it looks good, but it's he's just kind of colored along the crud with gray.
Yeah,
and
it's sort
filled
of
it in here and
tricky
there.
to effectively color stuff which has a lot of texture.
Yeah,
Like it usually makes more sense to not have those textures. But you'll notice like a lot of those European styled comics that are in color will use very light kind of pastel colors so that you can still pick up a lot of those liney textures inside the figures.
I mean, they're doing their best. Some of this you
Yeah.
can tell this is like early kind of Photoshop. Like this is kind of a grainy, like these grays in the within the crud line is this kind of grainy, almost like whatever add noise command in Photoshop or something.
You think?
It looks like
This is
that to me. It looks
1989, right? I'm sure Photoshop was around, but
yeah. I mean, I think Tom McGraw was like an early digital coloring
right
guy, and it's not like the Image Comics digital coloring. It's something else. It's a
Right.
little bit more basic than that, and trying to follow the old rules a little bit more than fucking Wetworks or something like that in 1994 or 5.
Wetworks.
Go watch an episode of Cartoonist Kayfabe. They talk about Wetworks once a week.
Real quick, 2 pages back because we missed it the first time around. That panel 4, does that look like it was glued in there badly?
Where wait, this is the
yeah,
EKG
you're on
thing?
the right page. Yeah, bottom of
this
panel
one
4. Yeah, the way
these are the electrical impulses in the brain.
The way it's way up and it's not centered very well.
Oh, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's the same lettering, but yeah, it's the balloon's a little weird.
I'm just wondering if does it look like it was done separately and glued on there?
Yeah, it could be. Like there's some color hold stuff that sort of overlaps it, which is kind of unusual. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention was back on this page way back here on this is page 5.
Mm-hmm.
On the Tom Bierbaum blog, he mentions that there's supposed to be caption boxes in the first 3 panels of these. They got left out altogether.
Oh.
I was kind of curious what they were supposed to say. I was surprised he didn't put it on his blog post. It was just supposed to be like conversation or computer readout or Encyclopedia Galactica about the Validus plague, I think, is just, and it probably would have wound up being duplicated information in the way at the end of the text piece. But like these do seem like uncommonly silent handful of panels there.
Panels 2 and 3 for sure.
Yeah.
But, most of the time, ones like that are sort of unnecessary. I mean, who knows what they wrote, but feels like you could hack every other one of those out, those dialogue, those explanation boxes, and it would still work.
It just becomes a much really unusual kind of pacing for a superhero comic to have 3 panels of shit. God,
I don't know. See, I think it works. I think it works really well because it's like he's been working by himself in silence, like he's waiting for a result there, like, and it didn't work again, like he's just tried something.
Yeah, like you get to the 5th panel, he's like, right, I know, like he's talking to somebody who's not there. He's talking to a computer readout that we're not privy to.
Or like the 4th panel, his damn it is in response to, like in the previous 3, he's just waiting to see if this thing he added is going to kill that virus or something. And then finally he's like, damn it, it didn't work. So he's just sitting there in silence. Maybe I'm
no, I mean, tired. I think as like a character thing, yeah, that works.
Right.
I'm just saying that like for like the I don't know, like a nuts and bolts making a superhero comic book,
right,
to have 3 panels that are merely there, or they wind up being only to show you the location for 3 panels, seems like weird. And yeah, definitely, like it does make sense that it was an accident that there's not a bunch of text in those panels.
But yeah, the right I know. Now that you mentioned that, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, like who's he talking to? He's just talking to himself.
Like that seems like maybe it had a box.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like maybe the computer up on the top. I guess you could say he's reading something. He's responding to something out loud.
Yeah.
Like your phone says shutting down or something. You're like, I don't know, like sometimes you
Right.
respond to a prompt.
Yeah, and it's just like it isn't spelled out to us. I guess that's what throws me off. Is like, is this a comic that tells me everything, or is this a comic that doesn't tell me everything?
Right. Somehow though, even though often it's an accident, like when they leave things out, I kind of think it makes stories a little better because there
Definitely.
is a tendency, not just in comics, in all media, to over explain everything.
Yeah.
Like I personally love missing the beginning of a TV show, like the first 10 minutes or so, because it'll become real, and it tricks me sometimes because I'll catch an episode of something and I'm 15 minutes late to it, and it seems really interesting and compelling, and then I'll like it so much I'll go back and watch it from the beginning, and then I'll realize like everything that I thought was interesting and mysterious and puzzle like about it was actually over explained in the beginning, and it wouldn't have been good. I wouldn't have enjoyed it if I'd seen all of it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like without that wordy setup, it's like a mystery, right?
Right, right.
It's. I mean, it's the same as like when you. I don't know if this happens to anybody anymore. When I was a kid, I could flip channels on my TV,
Mm-hmm.
and you're up in the middle of the night, and it's whatever 1:30 a.m. and it's dark, and you're like, what is this black and white movie that's already been on for half an hour? And you start
Mm-hmm.
watching it, like, what the fuck
Right,
is this? It
right,
doesn't make any sense. It's so weird. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
right,
But then if you actually watch it, maybe it becomes the most conventional thing you've ever seen.
right. Exactly.
Like without the missing pieces and without the half asleep context. It's like, oh,
Right.
this is just whatever. This is a Hollywood movie from whatever.
It's kind of the magic of live or antenna TV. Kind of lose that with streaming unless you happen to walk in the room and someone's already watching, I guess.
But also like you'll never see anything that's mysterious. Like every new thing, like they
Mm-hmm.
go out of their way to tell you in every
Yeah.
scene what's going on.
And then if there is some big reveal, right after the big reveal, they'll go ahead and explain it again.
Yeah.
Explain it in words just in case you missed it.
Yeah, there's never anything. It's all made for people who are like they're watching another movie at the same time on their
Right.
other on their phone or whatever, like that's what it's for.
Are we in 10?
Yeah, we're back on 10. The probe is going to kill them. Time trappers took over the probe and is going to silence these two guys.
Yeah.
Bringing
Turned
Five and
into some
Shadow.
kind of vampire like horror creature.
And also, like the walls have this mess on them.
Right. Yeah, and it makes it. Yeah, it's causing her to like because she's a machine, right?
I guess so.
So she's like rusting and cracking and like entropy. She's
I think that's
entropy.
the idea is that the time trapper, whatever power he has to control this thing, is also simultaneously making it, decay into
Right.
dust.
He's like the.
And the whole environment is that way.
He's like that. Like, aren't there like some like fictional depictions of like of death or whatever, and he touches a rose and it turns
Yeah.
to
Yeah, exactly. The next page doesn't continue that. The next page, we're back with Mon-El. Mon-El has disappeared from Brainiac 5's lab, and here he is now in a limbo place.
Yes.
This is some more stuff that looks good in black and white. Giffen did a lot of little noodling. He made Al Gordon do a lot of little noodling with his brush or his pen or whatever.
But I think the colors for the backgrounds look nice though, mostly. Like that silver and copper color. Maybe not the yellow so much. They almost look metallic, the colors.
Yeah, kinda. To me, they're trying to make it look like dust and crud flying around or something.
Right.
And I think you can kind of make out shapes or like the stuff moving in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just Time Trapper has taken Mon-El to this place, and he is he's gonna kill him, I guess, is what Time Trapper wants to do.
Right. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but he feels in order to dispense with Mon-El to take over him, he has to leave him and fight him physically. Maybe this is where it's sort of implied that they might be on Pocket Earth, because he asks where he's been taken, and he says, to the universe that spawned you.
Yeah, he says, I'll beat your soul back into submission. So he's not even necessarily, I guess by that logic, he's not necessarily going to try and kill Mon-El. He's just going to make him as weak as like Eltrogand was, and then fill up the rest with Time Trapper mind.
So he mentions this is where he first created him, and that he's just basically his backup plan, his in case he's ever in need of a body. He basically grew Mon-El as this indestructible vessel that he could use.
Stay tuned.